one of the things, from between, I guess, shows that we found out about was, or at least, I don't know if this was before the last show or not, but Amazon.com was wanting to share some information on their website. They were wanting to share some information about whether or not what was involved in the price of your good that was tariff. So if you paid the price of the good, they were going to tell you that this amount of your price is the tariff. Now they tell you this amount of the price is tax, and boom, boom, boom. This is tax, this is whatever, this is tariff, and they're going to show that. Good. I mean, I'm not opposed to that whatsoever, but apparently the Trump administration is opposed to that.
Sean, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Secretary. So it was reported this morning that Amazon will soon display a little number next to the price of each product that shows how much the Trump tariffs are adding to the cost of each product. So isn't that a perfect, crystal clear demonstration that it's the American consumer and not China who is going to have to pay for these policies?
I will take this since I just got off the phone with the president about Amazon's announcement. This is a hostile and political act by Amazon. Why didn't
It's a hostile and political act to be honest with your consumers. Oh no. I mean, if that isn't the most Trump administration thing to say ever, it's hostile and a political act to tell the consumers how much they're paying, or their good has raised in price because of the tariff caused by this administration. That is just the most accurate Trump thing ever.
Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years? And I would also...
The price of inflation, though, is something that is... but doesn't necessarily affect all goods and services, but it's not necessarily done by a specific tariff or specific added tax. I guess the geniuses in the White House don't quite understand that, but we here at Liberal Lane Radio do.
So add that it's not a surprise because, as Reuters recently wrote, Amazon has partnered with a Chinese propaganda arm. So this is another reason why Americans should buy American. It's another reason why we are onshoring critical supply chains here at home to...
And just wait. Hold on.
Shore up our own critical supply chain and boost our own manufacturing here.
Hi, Mr. Secretary. So it was...
I don't believe you. You are a bunch of liars. Why? Because, you're not going to be able to get the supply chains fixed that quickly. That's not going to happen. We're going to see empty ships at the ports. I think we've already started to see some empty ships at the ports. We're going to see supply chains dwindling. We're going to see a lot of harm. And even the Trump administration, between it saying, oh, we're going to onshore stuff, we're going to do all this stuff that's great for America, we're going to build things here, buy American, yay! But all of that's going to take time and effort, and then your prices are going to go up anyway because the cost to produce here probably is much higher with many items, as it would be, if we continue to import those things. So, I mean, come on. And then you have the situation where they are wanting to now put a tariff on movies that are made outside the country. So now that's Trump's new idea because, he's teamed up with the three conservative people who he likes in Hollywood, including John Voight, I think it is. And yeah, so places, they film things all over the world. This particular last movie that I saw, the Thunderbolts. Some of it was filmed in Georgia and Atlanta, and some of it was filmed in Canada, and some of it was filmed other places too. So what, are they going to bits and pieces this part of the film you have to pay a tariff on, but this part of the film you don't have to pay a tariff on? People are going to be mad. The thing about, before, you distract the populace with bread and circuses, right? You're supposed to distract the populace with bread and circuses. If it's the circuses are going to cost more because the circus in this case are the movies that people want to go watch and get a break from everything. And if they're now going to have to pay even more money for a movie that was filmed, at least in part, in other countries, they're not going to be distracted by the horrible things that you're doing. They're going to be pissed off at the things that you're doing, and they're going to get a bigger example of it. Then, with the bread, the prices of eggs have not gone down. Donald Trump seems to think that the price of eggs has gone down, but it hasn't. And there's many, many more things that are going to be, costing more money. But yet, Donald frickin' Trump tells young girls, tells the young girls that they can't have more than 2 dolls. You can't have more than 2 dolls if you're, I guess, a young girl in Trump's world. I'm sure his children probably had access to all the dolls that they wanted. But you're younger. Now, let's hear what he has to say on
the
this.
tariffs. And I want to ask you about something you said this week. Got a lot of attention. You were at your cabinet meeting. You said, quote, I'm going to quote what you said, maybe the children will have 2 dolls instead of 30 dolls.
Yeah.
And maybe the 2 dolls will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally. Are you saying that your tariffs will cost?
First of all, I don't understand that math. I don't understand the math there. If it's a couple of bucks more for the dolls, then it doesn't make sense that you'd only be able to get 2 if it's just a couple of bucks more. You should be able to at least get 5 or 6, right? But, no one's ever accused Donald Trump of being good at math. At least no one who has a brain has ever accused Donald Trump of being good at math.
Cause some prices to go up.
No, I think the tariffs are going to be great for us because it's going to make us rich.
But you said some dolls are going to cost more. Isn't that an acknowledgement that some prices will go up?
I don't think a beautiful baby girl that's 11 years old needs to have 30 dolls.
What is it your business? How many dolls a child has or doesn't have? And why are you being sexist too to suggest that it's only girls that are going to not have dolls or have less than 30 dolls or whatever? And why do you think people have 30 dolls? I mean, I don't know how many kids you know. Probably not a lot, except for maybe the ones you met through Jeffrey Epstein. How many you got 30 dolls for Christmas? I didn't get 30 of anything. Any holiday, be it Christmas gifts or Hanukkah gifts or whatever. So the idea of 30 dolls just goes to show how Donald Trump's mind is just not able to actually fathom what regular people go through. I mean, assuming that his mind works, which it doesn't. But anyway, let's continue with Trump's ramblings.
I think they can have 3 dolls or 4 dolls because what we were doing with China was just unbelievable. We had a trade deficit of hundreds of billions of dollars with China.
When you say they could have 3 dolls instead of 30 dolls, are you saying Americans could see?
I'm saying they don't need it. I'm not wanting to admit to you that you're right, that, because the dolls are going to cost more so the children will be able to afford less. And the reason that the dolls are going to cost more and the families will be able to afford less is because of the tariffs.
Store shelves?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they don't need to have 30 dolls. They can have 3. They don't need to have 250 pencils. They can have 5.
But
it's just so stupid. Like, how anybody with a brain can continue to listen to this guy, believe what this guy says, because even MSNBC has him backed into a corner. Or NBC News, I guess in this case, has him backed into a corner right here, shockingly.
You're basically saying there could be some supply shortages because of the tariffs.
We don't have to waste money on a trade deficit with China for things we don't need, for junk.
Why do you get to tell people what they need and what they don't need? I don't think you need Bedminster and Mar-a-Lago and all the other properties that you own. I don't think you need that. I'm sure you wouldn't like anybody coming to you and having government tell you you don't get to have all of those properties. You don't need all of those properties. We're going to take them, or we're going to prevent you from having that many. You would cry. I don't think Donald Trump has ever cried in his life, but if you snatch Mar-a-Lago and Bedminster away from this crook because he doesn't need them, then he would go crying home to whomever, maybe to Ivanka. I don't know. Maybe he'd find a new bride to replace Melania with, and then go cry to her. Who knows? Maybe he'll go find somebody else to cheat on a wife with somebody else, and then cry to her as well. I don't know. He can have one in every home. It's just absurd that these people are still following him, that these people are still supporting him, that these people can't see what a fool he is. Now, do you still agree with Donald Trump's tariffs? Do you somehow, can you manufacture a way as a Trump supporter, if you're watching this afterwards, after I post this video, can you somehow manufacture a way that Donald Trump isn't admitting that the price of dolls are going to go up so people will be able to afford less dolls or fewer dolls? You know, he's saying he's not saying that, but he's saying it. So I challenge any MAGA, any person who still supports this idiot as president, I challenge you. Find this clip on YouTube. If you haven't found it, or if you're watching this on somewhere else, find the shorter clip of this. Make your comments in the video. Let us know, how can you possibly square that circle? Because I want to know. I don't think it's possible, but I'm giving you the opportunity to prove me wrong. And if you can prove me wrong, I'll admit that I'm wrong. So go ahead, leave your comments down below. Remember to like the video, share, subscribe to the channel, and of course, unless you're a Nazi or believe that government should tell you how much toys you should have a good day.